Hi friends, Pastor Terry here. We are Dalhousie Church, and this is the 10-Minute Coach. We're in Matthew chapter 7, the first, 12 verses. And let me start by saying this. I think I'm right. Maybe you can, maybe you can empathize with me. I think I'm right. I think oftentimes I have the right take on things. I understand things. And there's a bit of human pride that's attached to that statement, and I'm acknowledging that. I think I'm right, and I'm not always right. I think I have the right perspective. I don't always have the right perspective. And that kind of takes us into the beginning of chapter 7, where Jesus says, do not judge others, and you will not be judged. And we had a conversation on Sunday about this, the idea that this is talking about ultimate judgment, standing in the place of God bringing judgment. And that leads Jesus into this, take care of take care of your own stuff, like attend to your own business first. And yet, my own business is never completely tended to, and so we end up in this situation where we're kind of like we're wounded healers. We're walking wounded, helping another wounded soldier make their way down the road a little further. Or as someone else has said, we're just one beggar telling another beggar where to find food. And so it's this posture of humility, this acknowledgement that I, like you, am made of clay. No fear of you should alarm me. And I'm here to try to help, to try to be one who comes alongside, one who encourages, and I do so from a posture of humility, but not just a posture of humility. I do so from a posture of relationship. I'm in relationship with the God of the universe. I am pursuing Him intentionally. And it's this relational aspect of kingdom life that Jesus is calling His disciples, those who are listening to Him. It's certainly the disciples. It's probably more than the disciples. It may be quite a large crowd that have gathered around. And He's calling us away from the practice of religion and into the practice of relationship, into the experience of relationship with God, that our faith would come out of the experience of God. And when I criticize religion, I realize that it's possible for some to hear that language and say, well, nuts to the church. And yet relationship is at the very heart of what Jesus is calling us to, which is certainly relationship with the Father. But all of these things, none of these things can be applied unless we're also in relationship with one another, unless we are also with other kingdom of heaven people, applying ourselves in a kingdom of heaven direction, desiring to serve the King who is the King of the kingdom of heaven, in order that we would serve His purposes and know His delight. The idea, the concept of the golden rule. I keep coming back to this because there's so many gems, so many jewels in this. Jesus talks about pearls, the value of the kingdom. He's talking about these the gospel, as the very heart of that which is most valuable. Throughout the Sermon on the Mount, there are these statements which are kind of jewels. They're kind of like pearls that people like to pull out and just say, well, here's one. And I used, there's a couple of examples right in the text that we're looking at here. One is, do not judge. And people say, don't judge me. Well, you pull them out of context. You pull them away from what it was Jesus was saying, what it is Matthew's communicating as he compiles his retelling, his gospel telling of the life of Jesus. If you take them out of the context, they can mean something very different than what Jesus intends them to mean, which is why we keep coming back to the context of this gospel, the gospel according to Matthew, in order to make sure that we're rightly understanding not just what Jesus says, but how it relates to what's before and after, because what's before and after sheds light on what it's supposed to mean. And as I tried to point out Sunday morning, Jesus is not saying everyone should do what's right in their own eyes, and no one should issue any kind of assessment of whether it's right or wrong, whether it's wise or foolish. Jesus clearly makes those kinds of assessments and calls us to be kingdom people. But his point is that we must do so from this posture of humility and from this place of relationship with God himself. Because when we're in relationship, when he is at work in us, even as we are in him, is the kind of language that Paul will use, the Apostle Paul will use. It's in that place of relationship that then we begin to have wisdom. We begin to hear what God is saying to us, to his church, and then responding to that faithfully, representing him. And we use that concept, representing Christ with discernment. Well, we could do that from a place of relationship. And we get to this verse 7, keep on asking, keep on seeking, keep on knocking, an active verb tense there, which calls us to just a persistence in pursuit of Jesus, not trying to twist his arm because he's stingy, but trying to grow in this relationship with our parent, our Father, who loves us and wants to give us good things, wants to resource us with that which we need. And so we draw into this relationship with him, desiring that we would hear him, we would know him, we would recognize his voice, and then we would be found faithful as we walk forward. Maybe the last thing that I need to talk about here would be that to get to verse 12, the golden rule. It's another one of those gems, another one of those jewels that sometimes gets taken out of context. And Jesus says, do to others whatever you would like them to do to you. This is the essence of all that's taught in the law and the prophets. I talked on Sunday about the fact that we have these bookends of Jesus saying, I've not come to abolish the law, but to fulfill the law. And here's the other bookend where he says, this is the essence of the law. Do to others what you'd have them do to you. That's one that gets pulled out of context. That one, I'm not sure it gets abused quite in the same way, because it's this biblical principle that's attached to the greatest commandment. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. The second is like unto it, love your neighbor as yourself. Jesus will say that his people will reflect, will love one another. They're not different commands. They're all the same command. As we look at the implications of loving God and loving one another, we are living out this love of Christ. And in this we are doing to others as we would have them do to us. And it's all intimately connected together. In this is at the very heart of the Old Testament. This is the very heart of God as he reveals himself to us. And so we look at these historic ancient documents with wonder. With gratitude that they're so rich and insightful. And we also look to them with humility, coming back and recognizing ourselves that, as the psalmist says, man is like a breath. His days are like a passing shadow. I kind of like the translation that says man's days are but a passing of wind. We'll let the comedians take care of that. Can we walk this out? Can we live this out increasingly? Those who see them as unachievable objectives, unreasonable expectations, miss the fact that this is a journey, and it's not a sprint. It is a long pursuit in a persistent direction. It's a marathon. It's an Ironman competition, not a competition because we're not in competition with one another, but it's going to be this long pursuit, this long journey that we are on, that increasingly, oh Lord, could a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, could I look back and see progress in my life that honors you? That would be my prayer. That's my prayer for you. And maybe there are some relationships that you need to take care of this week. Maybe there's a place where the do to others as you would have them do to you needs to be lived out. I'll leave that with you and invite the Holy Spirit to prompt you according to his design for your blessing, for his kingdom benefit. I'm Pastor Terry Lee. We are Dalhousie Church, and this has been the 10-Minute Coach. Bless you, and bye for now.